Welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everybody. My name is Nick Bartlett, and I'm a senior writer here at Super West Sports, as well as at OregonSportsNews.com. This week, I'll be breaking down Boise State and Notre Dame, Washington at Maryland, Duke at Cal, and Colorado at TCU. I'll also be throwing in a few quick hitters from the Mountain West. I'm not going to tell you which games yet. That would spoil the fun, guys. We can't be doing that this early in the show. But in all seriousness, thank you guys for watching as always. I really do appreciate the support. I'm kind of a grassroots guy, so appreciate all the support. Please remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, let's just get some games. Obviously, the matchups aren't quite as big as last week, but we got some fun ones in here this week. So let's just get to it. First one, Boise State at Notre Dame. First off, the line for this game is absolutely crazy. Notre Dame is favored by 20.5 points. Feels a little bit disrespectful to Boise State considering they're one of the winningest programs over the last decade, maybe 15 years. A little disrespectful there. Getting on with the notes as always. This game's important. For Boise State. The Broncos were surprised by South Florida in the opener. South Florida is a lot better than people realize. Obviously, going down to Gainesville the following week and grabbing a victory. So South Florida is a good team. Just real talk. But it hurt Boise's national reputation getting whacked like that in the opener. No other way around it. They really have a chance to rectify this. I mean, if they play Notre Dame well in South Bend, they're going to get love again. It's obvious. I mean, you compete with a team like Notre Dame, a national brand, things are going to change quickly. So Notre Dame is going to take them seriously. Their college football playoff is probably on the line. They already have 2 losses. And it feels like C.J. Carr is getting progressively better. He's their freshman quarterback. Carr threw for 354 yards and 4 touchdowns a week ago. Plus, I love Jeremiah Love. If you didn't happen to catch the ESPN special last week, he's actually he's on the spectrum, but undiagnosed. And it was a really cool story. It was a really cool story, actually, to start my last college football weekend. So that was pretty cool. But beyond that, he's a hell of a running back. I mean, he's a hell of a running back. Also, at the second halfback, they have a Jadarian Price. Price has rushed for 273 yards and 6 touchdowns. So they have a good 1-2 punch at the halfback. The Fighting Irish's defense hasn't really looked too solid. You'd actually expect better out of a Notre Dame team, besides for last week against Arkansas, against actually Boise State's former quarterback in Taylor Green. He was actually the guy got beat up pretty good by Notre Dame's defense. But with the exception of that, they struggled all year. This is something that Boise may be able to capitalize on. We'll obviously have to wait and see. The Broncos are led in offense by Maddox Madsen. I think everyone knows who he is at this point, but he's a reliable veteran quarterback. Just knows how to win games. Dude's a winner. May not be the flashiest guy, but he's a winner. You got to respect that. Dylan Riley has also shown glimpses at running back. He's 200-yard rushing games. Obviously not Ashton Genty, but it's still Boise State. I think they're a little disrespected. Malik Sherrod, the old Fresno State running back, provides depth as the second option. So they still have a good 1-2 punch at back. Again, not that star like they had last year, but a good 1-2 punch. Boise State has 4 different receivers who have at least 148 yards. And the Broncos are usually pretty aggressive on defense. So we'll see how that kind of plays out in the game. They like to, blitz a lot, and that could be troublesome for a freshman quarterback. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. As always, I kind of throw off some just fun stats, some basic stats, getting you a little more familiar with the teams before we hop into my advice here. So for Notre Dame, C.J. Carr, quarterback, has thrown for 1,091 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Jeremiah Love, maybe my favorite player in college football, has 341 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Boubacar Traore leads the team with 4 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss at defensive lineman. Looking over at Boise State, Maddox Madsen, the reliable vet, is thrown for 1,129 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Dylan Riley has rushed for 360 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Ty Benefield leads the team in tackles with 33, tackles for loss 3, and he's also added 1 interception at the safety position. So looking at my picks, I can already tell you I do not think Notre Dame should be favored by 20.5 points. I think that's super disrespectful to Boise State, especially considering Notre Dame's already lost twice. It's not like they're 4-0. So do I think they're going to cover a 20.5 point spread? Absolutely not. That feels just so ridiculous. 3 touchdowns on Boise State. I know they lost to South Florida, but this is, again, one of the most winningest programs in the last decade, and you're having them losing by 3 touchdowns. A little disrespectful. So, no, don't think they're going to cover. Over, under, I'm going with the under. They have 62.5, easily picking the under there. I think Boise State's defense is going to rattle a freshman quarterback a little bit. Obviously, Notre Dame is going to be able to slow down Boise, even though their defense hasn't been good all year. It's still Notre Dame. They're going to have talent. So I'm thinking this game pretty easily stays under 62.5. I'm actually surprised that it's that high, but going with the under, again, no way Notre Dame's covering a 20.5-point spread on Boise. Again, just feels a bit disrespectful to me. The next game we are looking at today, what are we looking at the next game? It is going to be, I'm trying to think of a song, Washington and Maryland. You guys are lucky. I got to my game notes before I could start singing. You guys got lucky this time. I might go a little slower next time. So Washington and Maryland. Again, if you don't follow the Huskies super carefully, tough loss last week to Ohio State. Shouldn't be embarrassed. I was actually listening to the game on the radio. I don't know if people still do that anymore, but I enjoyed it. It just sounded like the Huskies couldn't make the big play consistently. They just weren't quite ready for the moment. Talent-wise, didn't seem like they were far off from the defending national champs in Ohio State. So something to look out for sure. Get into the notes. Sometimes, like I probably did in the first preview, I just start talking and spoil my notes. So let's actually read what I got written. Yeah, Washington's a really good team. I already told you guys that. The Huskies are led by DeMond Williams Jr., who should look better this week. Again, that was his first. He's never seen a team like Ohio State. UW's offense only scored 6 points against the Buckeyes, which should scare the turtle out of Maryland. I could have done better with that one. Jonah Coleman is still one of the most underrated halfbacks in the country. He's built like Marshawn Lynch. I do not understand how this guy doesn't get more love. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And as a Washington State Cougar fan, when we were playing the Huskies, sorry, Cougar fans, I felt in my heart there was no way there was one guy we couldn't stop, and that was Jonah Coleman. So I don't understand how this guy's not recognized nationally. But the biggest area of concern for Washington might be fatigue. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say for a college football game, but Maryland has had 2 weeks off to prepare for this matchup. Yeah, I'm not sure that works. Seems like they got a little bias against the West Coast in the Big Ten. Not sure, but how does a team get 2 weeks off in Washington just to play the defending national champions? A bit interesting. Here we go. Let's get back to the notes. I told you guys to get off track a little bit there. There's a little side judgment, a little side bias. But the Terrapins entered this matchup with a good record, but haven't really played anyone on the Dogs level yet. Their most notable result was a 17-point victory in Madison. I think that's actually more notable than they're getting credit for, to beat Wisconsin 17, even if they're having a down year. UMD's biggest strength in this matchup is going to be their defensive line. They're tied for first in the country, averaging 4 sacks per game. At quarterback, they're led by Malik Washington. Washington should be a really good player in the future. He's not quite there yet, but he's definitely got some talent. He struggles with accuracy issues. He has thrown for 1,038 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception this year, but again, struggling with accuracy issues against a team like UW could hurt him. They'll likely also struggle to run against the Dogs. Ohio State had trouble running against the Huskies, so I don't really think Maryland's going to be able to do much better. Doesn't really make much logical sense. Stats for Washington: DeMond Williams Jr. has thrown for 951 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Last week, I left out his rushing stats, so I was putting them in there this week. He's also added 192 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Jonah Coleman, my dog, 417 yards and 9 touchdowns. The stats looked a little bit better before the Ohio State game, but still really impressive. Alex McLaughlin leads the team with 29 tackles and 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the Apple Cup. And Maryland is led by, we didn't touch on him actually. Maryland is led by DeJuan Williams. He's their leading rusher with 183 yards. He's also added a touchdown. And I heard it, guys. It's just a new day and age, so I can't say what I want to say about joking around with buddies, but I heard it. We got to be respectful of everyone, but I heard it. Shalik Knotts leads the team with 276 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. And Dylan Wingate leads the team with 39 tackles. He also has 3 tackle for losses, 1 sack, and 1 pick 6. So Dylan Wingate's got to watch out for. Pretty much a boss. Looking at the spread and the over-under for this matchup, I think that Washington will cover. What's like a 6.5-point spread? Yeah, I think Washington's going to actually. Yeah, Washington's going to cover again. I released my fearless predictions later in the day today, so I don't want to give you too much right now. But I'll just say that Washington's going to cover. Over-under at 54.5. I'm going with the over. I think Washington's offense is going to explode after last week. 6 points felt a little bit. 6 points. I don't think that's going to happen again to a team like UW. I think they're a lot better than people realize. So I'm going with the over there. I think UW just hangs up a whole bunch of points. Maybe Maryland adds a couple on late to get you the over there. So over there. And again, Washington will cover the spread. Next matchup, I think the final matchup I'm going to do is going to be Colorado-TCU, which means in between time. In the meantime, told you guys to get some rap lyrics or a song in there. But next matchup is Duke at Cal. This is a weird matchup because I don't know what to make of Cal at this point. Just Cal's got to look better than they did last week against Boston College. The Golden Bears, they just need to do well during this portion of the ACC schedule. I think they got Duke, North Carolina, and Virginia Tech, I believe, in their next three. They need to take advantage of this, especially with all their early season blunders in past years and losing to San Diego State by 700 points 2 weeks ago. Sorry, Cal fans, that's a little rude. They only lost by 30, but I was just kind of upset by that loss. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then last week, barely escaping at Boston College with the interception at the end of the game. Cal's got to look better with this easy schedule. At some point, if Cal doesn't look better, you got to get Justin Wilcox out of there. What else do you want me to say? They got to look better. So continuing on with the notes, though, need to do well during this portion of the ACC schedule, or things get rough. It does get a little tougher down the stretch. Duke has been spotty this season, but has bounced back with 2 victories against NC State and Syracuse. The Blue Devils are led by Darian Mensah on offense. He's a really good quarterback. He's really been cooking, throwing for 1,573 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. They also have a solid halfback in Nate Shepard, and Cooper Barkate is their leading receiver. He has 409 yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. For Cal, Jaron wow, I've been hearing this name for weeks now. I can't do it. Jaron Sagapolete needs to avoid turnovers against Duke. The Blue Devils defense is actually playing pretty solid the last 3 weeks. They've forced 7 turnovers, so they're definitely a decent defense, at least in terms of taking the ball away. The Bears also need to get Kendrick Raphael, I think, carries in this contest. Duke features the leader in sacks in the ACC in Vincent Anthony Jr. So if you want to keep a good defensive end off balance, you need to run the ball. If you're going to let him pass rush you all day, he's going to hurt you, and he's going to hurt you bad. Again, he's leading the conference in sacks, and the ACC has a lot of talent. So I think Vincent Anthony Jr. is definitely a name to remember for this matchup and could change the game if Cal's not careful. Just really need to keep him off balance. I also think another way to keep him off balance, maybe throw a few screens, a few quick hitters to Tron Grizzell or whoever they target on the outside. Tron Grizzell is one of their better receivers, if not their best receiver. Bottom line, this is Cal's homecoming game, so they just need to play well. They need to play well. Almost skip the stats. Why would we do that? That'd be a terrible thing to do. Looking at the stats again, Jaron Sagapolete has thrown for 1,242 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Tron Grizzell, I don't know why I say he's kind of the best receiver. He is their best receiver. 344 yards receiving. He's also added a touchdown. And Cade Ulave, he's an absolute beast. If you don't know him at linebacker, leads the team in tackles and tackles for loss with 40 and 6. He's also added a sack. For Duke, Nate Shepard leads the team in rushing with 356 yards. They also have another really solid running back in Anderson Castle. Has rushed for 235 yards and also added 4 touchdowns. And as we touched on earlier, Vincent Anthony Jr. named to remember spotlight that circle at square at star at, yellow dot or something. He leads the team in tackles for losses and sacks with 7 and 5. And man, I was right at Colorado-TCU, but now I got to scroll all the way back up and get to the spread here. Bottom line, I think that spread, Duke favored 2.5 points. I do not think Duke is going to cover. I'm giving you faith, Wilcox. Giving you faith. I don't think Duke is going to cover, though. Over under 55.5. I'm picking the over. Duke's got a good quarterback, as we touched on, 2 good running backs. I think Cal's offense, after whatever happened 2 weeks ago and barely escaping last week, is going to play better. So I'm going with the over in this one. Final game, we're scrolling all the way back down, and we are going to Cal and TCU. Is that their fight song? They do it like that? I just know the OSU one goes, OSU. And it's like so catchy, and it gets in my head, and it's like, it's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. Maybe I'm a little jealous as a Cougar fan. Or is that the ASU one? Whichever one it is, it's cool. If I might be confusing ASU and OSU's fight song. Final game, either way, Colorado at TCU. This line feels weird to me. TCU, another one that feels weird to me, really. TCU is favored by nearly 2 touchdowns against the Buffs, 13.5 points. A little odd to me. I get that Colorado's 0-2 in the Big 12, but TCU enters this game again as 2-touchdown favorites. Both squads are coming off real tough losses last week, just real actual heartbreakers. So someone's got to find a new girlfriend this week or a new boyfriend or whatever they're looking for. So the Buffaloes blew a 14-point lead, while the Horned Frogs blew a 17-pointer. I had so much fun with that one, with the 17-pointer line. But the key for both teams will probably prove which quarterback plays better. Josh Hoover is a killer for TCU. He's thrown for 1,242 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I was really impressed watching him last week. I did not realize how good he was. Hoover is actually legit good. Again, I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks nationally. I watch a lot of nerdy college football games. He's one of the better ones I've seen this year for sure. CU is led by Caden Salter. He hasn't really played well this year. He just hasn't, and it's kind of hurting their squad bad. With the exception of the Wyoming game, that was really his only real solid game, and I'm pulling for him. I'm hoping that he can replace Shadur and get the Buffs right back on the right as Stomp. I tried to think of something there, it didn't work. We're gonna keep going. Shoot or shoot, guys. Shoot or shoot. But this is his second start back after being benched for the Houston contest. Again, I went on a little rant there. Caden Salter, we're talking about. But it's more than him. The Buffs have really proven inconsistent across the board, just lacking. They don't really have a clear identity of their team yet. They need to develop that. With Shadur gone, it just doesn't feel the same, and Travis Hunter gone, it feels different. One thing working in Colorado's favor is that the Frogs struggle to run the ball. The Buffs rank 123rd in rushing yards allowed per game, so they don't really have to worry about that this week. If CU is going to win this contest, they'll need their receivers to take over. Still got a lot of talent at the wideout position. They just haven't been able to really throw the ball effectively. They have a lot of talent there. Kind of frustrating. TCU ranks 110th in passing yards allowed per game. So if you can just get these guys the ball out in space, they'll do something. And both defenses are mid. How about that? They're not that good. They're not that bad. They're mid. I think TCU is ranked something like 50th in points allowed per game, and Colorado is something like maybe 61st or something. Those aren't exact. I was just looking at it earlier, so it's in those ranks. I think TCU is a little bit higher ranked in terms of points per game than Colorado. Looking at the stats, and these are going to be the final stats because I'm getting tired of reading stats. And then we're going to go to the quick hitters and get you out of here and get me out of here. And I'm going to finish writing my fearless predictions, y'all. We're on a late night here. So, but Caden Salter is throwing for 648 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's also added 202 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. I had to combine these two guys because their stats were pretty comparable. Sincere Brown and Joseph Williams, 2 halfbacks for the Buffs, have combined for 431 yards and 4 touchdowns, at the receiver position. Sincere Brown and Joseph Williams have combined for 431 yards and 4 touchdowns at the receiver position. And Tawfik Bayard leads the team with 39 tackles and is tied for the team lead with 3.5 tackles for loss. To add a little context to Sincere Brown and Joseph Williams, they both have like 200 yards, something like that receiving, 200 plus a little bit, and then like 2 touchdowns apiece. Looking at TCU, Eric McAllister leads the team with 320 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Jordan Dwyer leads the team with 20 catches. He has 299 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. And Caleb Alarms-Orr leads the team in tackles for losses, and sacks with 31. Sacks with 30, it's not 31 sacks. Leads the team in tackles with 31, 4 tackles for losses, and 3 sacks. If he had 31 sacks, that'd be bonkers. So yeah, that is essentially it for the big games. I guess I should give you my final pick here before we get to it. But I think you kind of picked up on it in my tone at the beginning. I do not think TCU is going to cover a 2 touchdown. I don't even understand why they're favored by 2 touchdowns against Colorado. I think this is actually a little bit odder to me than the Notre Dame Boise one. I just don't think TCU is going to cover that at all. Over under 58.5. Oh yeah, so I was going to pick this off the top of my head. I'm going to go with the over. Because I couldn't decide earlier. Usually I have all my notes pretty much written out and I just ramble for a bit, but that's the one I wanted to pick off the top of my head. So I'm going with the over there because it came off the top of my head. So yeah, no reasoning. There you go. Moving on to the final little quick hitters. And just so you know, I only recap 4 games in depth. These final 2 I do in like 2 seconds, guys. I just want to give you love to a couple more games because I think it's important, particularly because conferences like the Mountain West often get overlooked, and there's good players everywhere. There really are good players everywhere. Remember, Cooper Kupp came from Eastern Washington. People don't remember that. That's not even at the FCS level. So quick hitters this week going to be UNLV at Wyoming. Spread 3.5. I do think UNLV will cover. Wyoming really doesn't have an offense. Wyoming's quarterback, Caden Anderson, I believe his name. Let's see if I got that down the notes here. I'm already doing too much. I told you I'd make this quick. Basically, the quarterback struggles. Wyoming's quarterback struggles with completions. Wyoming's offense struggles, and UNLV has a good offense under Anthony Colandera and Jaden Thomas. So I'm thinking UNLV will definitely cover. And for the over/under, I'm going with the under at 49.5. Again, Wyoming is a good defense. I think at home they're gonna limit UNLV, but I also don't think they're gonna score very many points. So I'm going with the under for that one. And I do think UNL will cover and remain undefeated. Final game we are going to break down is going to be Making My Way Downtown, Walking Fast. Dun. I got to find a new song, but that song's so catchy. You guys know that too. It's kind of cliche song to sing, but it is so catchy. But anyway, the final game. I told you we got a rap, we got a song. The final game, this is actually an interesting game, and I could have probably thrown it in my Big Four. San Jose State had not played well enough this year for me to justify it, but New Mexico has. So had the Spartans played a little better, they would have been in the Big Four. But San Jose State at New Mexico. Again, New Mexico's playing good ball this year. Played Michigan tough in the Big House in a loss. I believe they're 3-1 or 4-1. Don't quote me, but I know they have one loss. And they beat their rival New Mexico State pretty handily last week. The Spartans, San Jose State, kind of having a tough year. Came off a really heartbreaking loss to Stanford last week. Really just haven't found their rhythm outside of Walker Get. Bottom line, though, this is the Mountain West opener for San Jose State. They were projected to be pretty decent in the group of 5, and they haven't lived up to those expectations. I think this is the game where San Jose State just, I don't want to say gets it right, but I do think they cover the spread of 2.5. So I think that kind of gives away the answer there of who I think is going to win. But yeah, I think that San Jose State is going to cover this week. And for the over/under, I'm going with the under, 58.5 under. I'm going with the under. I don't spend too much time in these games. I think that New Mexico's defense will come to play a little bit. So looking at it, I'm going to get you guys out of here now. Seriously, thank you guys for tuning in as always. This has been the Nick Bartlett Show, the Nicky B Show, whatever else nickname you got. I got a whole bunch of them. But yeah, it's been a show. It's been a show, hasn't it? Give you a quick recap of my picks. My picks today were Notre Dame won't cover, Washington will cover, Duke won't cover, and TCU won't cover. I know that's real confusing. I'll do it one final time. My picks today were Notre Dame won't cover, Washington will cover, Duke won't cover, and TCU won't cover as well. For the over-unders, under for Boise, Notre Dame under for Boise, Notre Dame, over Washington, Maryland, over Duke and Cal. And I think I said the over for Colorado, TCU. In my notes, I have whatever I said. And again, under for Boise, Notre Dame, over for Washington, Maryland, over at Duke and Cal, and the over for Colorado and TCU. For the quick hitters, you got to get those down by memory because you could also rewind. That also works too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. Got some fun college games. If you're a nerd like me, you enjoy kind of the obscure games. So that's what I'm into. So, hey, have a good weekend, y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and deuces.